What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the build vlog. Today is the day we are gonna get to painting. I already have this baby primed in right here. I'm gonna try my best to get some of this on video. The most important thing is to get down a nice base coat on this thing with the Harbor Freight paint gun, which is a very cheap paint gun. It is not the best by far, but we're not doing a car. We're not doing a big job. This is a small job. This is not an ideal compressor. This is definitely not an ideal setup, but hopefully it works out all right. It's the paint gun I have. It was gifted to me, so it's the one I'm gonna use. And we'll just see how this goes. This is a big experiment. I am very nervous about this, but I feel like it made sense to do on this project because we're gonna be basically painting the entire blaster one color, except for some accents that we will mask off later and then do after the purple goes on. So yeah, really exciting. We are gonna start with an adhesion promoter, which I have never used before, but this is meant for plastics and vinyl and trim and whatnot. But we're gonna do that, you know, can't hurt. So we'll start with that. And then this is my Pavo Purple House of Colors number 1022. So hopefully this is a good color. They didn't put any splotch on top and I haven't opened this. So it looked good on the picture, so hopefully it turns out well. That's what we're gonna go with. I put down the primer it recommended, so we should be good there. And hopefully everything turns out well. So let's just get to it. Well, guys, to say I'm disappointed is an understatement. Paint job actually turned out pretty well, but this is not at all the color that I purchased. And it's just disappointing because I spent a ton of money to get an exact color that was very, very close, or should have been very, very close to the actual Crossbow color. And obviously this is nowhere close to that. It's not a bad color, it's just not anywhere close to what I was going for. And it's mainly the reason why I chose to use the paint gun over just like aerosol cans, which normally would be cheaper. I kind of had to just go with this color because I've run out of time and I spent so much money on it. I don't really have time to return it. And, you know, I don't know. I'm still like not sure what I should do. If I should just try to paint over it with something, because it's not exactly what I want, or should I just live with it? It's also very pearly and glossy, which, you know, was to be somewhat expected. It's way more pearly though than the color. I'll put up on the screen the color that it should have been, which you could tell is very different from this. But that pearliness is showing a lot of the imperfections, which that's the thing. Paint shows everything, and even when I primered it, it looked way better and didn't look like it had any sort of lines or something. And you can see some lines where I filled in and whatnot. And even though I did everything possible to make it as smooth as possible. So that's one of the things with integrations, you know, paint jobs like this are very difficult to pull off because they show all the imperfections. There's definitely paint jobs you can do, and a lot of people choose to do them to kind of hide all that stuff. But I didn't think I would have to do that. But honestly, I think the other paint wouldn't have brought out those things as much, because I think just the glossiness and the pearliness of this paint is going to show that. But yeah, I don't know what to do because I've spent so much time and money and effort on this project, and to not get it the way I want it is very disappointing. So, I mean, painting over it isn't ideal either. I'm not even sure how that would go. I would obviously need to do a high grit sand to it and then paint over it. But there's no way. I haven't 2K'd it yet, so once you clear coat it, you're pretty much stuck. But the thing is if I don't finish this, then I won't be able to enter the competition, which is, I mean, I've spent so much time trying to get this done for it. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I usually don't enter these competitions, because it just puts a timeline on things and it makes you rush and do things. And I don't even know if I'll have another chance to paint weather-wise. I had basically perfect weather, as perfect you can get here in Indiana in April when I did this, and it's great this weekend, so I really need to finish this up. I'm still contemplating it. I don't know. I'm sure most of you guys will say, oh, it looks great, but it's not at all the color it's supposed to be. And when you spend $160+ just on primer and base alone, not to mention all the money I spent to get my air gun to function properly, and the paint, I had to buy filters for the paint, and then I had to buy a cleaning kit for my gun, and I had to buy a new hose for my compressor, and then you add the 2K on top of that, which I would do no matter what, obviously. But yeah, painting Nerf blasters is expensive, and doing this one was even more expensive than I normally do, but I thought it was worth it for this project, and then to get the color just completely wrong is very disappointing. Yeah, I don't know. I've reached out to the company. We'll see if they say anything back that I bought this from. To say I'm disappointed is an understatement, and I really don't know what to do, but things to ponder. I'll get back to you guys. All right, well, back to square one. We had to start over again because that paint was just not going to do it for me. I was in contact with the company I bought the paint from, and they were actually very helpful, which I was somewhat surprised about. And they are sending me new paint that is basically the color that I was supposed to get. Long story short, basically they sent me the right paint, but the website shows the wrong color for that paint code, which is a problem. Because honestly, I would assume most people that are buying custom colors like that are buying it based off of what the color is on the website. So they blamed it on custom color, and they just sent them the wrong stock photo, I guess. But I went ahead and reprimed this just because I feel better about it. They said I could paint over the base, but I feel better about repriming it. I wanted to touch up a few spots anyways, since I had the time. Also, I feel like I want to make sure I get good coverage and not have to put on extra base coats, because I also am still worried about running out of paint, because that was basically the perfect amount of paint last time. So hopefully I should be perfect again in theory. But this time I think I'm going to go ahead and paint the other parts that are going to be like a gunmetal color first, just because I don't have the paint yet and I can go ahead and do that. Also, I didn't do it the first time that way because they were clear that I needed to paint that color over gray primer. And if I spray paint this gunmetal, then there's going to be overspray to cover. I think it'll be okay. They seem to think it'd be okay covering the purple, so I think that definitely the gunmetal should be okay. I'm less worried about that. And honestly, it just comes down to time and ease of taping off things. Also, I think will be slightly easier this way. There'll be less to tape doing this first, so hopefully it should work out all right. We're just back to square one. Unfortunately, I had some great days to paint. I had a great day to paint when I painted this the first time. We had some good days after that, and I've lost all those days. I've been in a holding period, but you know what? I think it's more important that I get the paint job that I'm happy with than, just going with what I had before and not being happy with the final product. Hopefully, if everything goes well, I still should meet the deadline, but it's really going to depend on weather, assuming that I actually get the paint that I'm supposed to, and it's supposed to arrive today. Be lovely if I could get it earlier today so I could finish the base today, but it's very important to have good weather for clear coat especially. It cannot be humid. Wind is always an issue here in Indiana, and it's just hard to get good days. So it's been rainy a lot. It's supposed to get cold again this weekend, so that's a little disappointing. Nevertheless, I got my fingers crossed, and hopefully we can get this thing done. All right, so all the silver parts are painted. I used this custom color Paint Huffers aerosol. You can get this in aerosol, or you could get their stuff in, you know, mixed form like this for a spray gun. But I think I prefer aerosol if you can go that route. And it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't horribly expensive to get these. And this actually has worked for 2 different blasters. Another one that should be getting finished relatively soon after many, many years. But some of you guys that have been following the channel might have an idea what that is. But nevertheless, this is called Smoke Show. I really like this color. It's a nice metallic silver, I guess, gunmetal kind of color. And should look pretty good. And then we have mask everything off that needs to be masked off. And hopefully it stays that way before we can paint, because it is now cold and rainy and I will not be able to paint for another couple days. So we'll just have to go over and make sure everything is staying stuck down. This just takes so long to do, masking things off like this. It is a very tedious and time-consuming job. So it's just a lot of work, but should be worth it in the end. And I did get my paint in the mail, and this one is Wine Glow, and it's interesting to me that this number is only 1 different than the previous, so I'm guessing that's how the mix-up happened. Somebody was like, looked at the number and then went over on their screen or something to the picture that was supposed to coordinate with that number, and they just went up, I guess, and got the wrong, you know, color match picture with the actual paint. So I think this is actually what I was supposed to get. We weren't 100% sure, but this should be the right color. So I'm excited about that, and hopefully we get a day here this weekend that I can actually paint, because we are coming down to it. That's where we're at right now, so hopefully everything goes smooth from here on out. All right, you guys, so we got some yellow parts and some dyed flywheels, and I was able to pick these up today while I'm waiting to paint my blaster, because the weather has turned poor. So hopefully I can get that done in the next couple days and get this thing put together. But we got these flywheels dyed, and they turned out awesome. Really happy with that color. Like, that color is perfect. I didn't even expect it to come out that well. I mean, that's pretty cool. Now, I wasn't able to do them yellow, and I didn't choose to do them yellow, mainly because we did these parts yellow, and I thought the contrast would look much better. Also, the dye I bought to do them yellow was not gonna work. At least I didn't try it, but I'm fairly certain it was not gonna work with this, because you need a synthetic dye, which you have to use RIT dye more instead of the RIT dye all-purpose. I'm sure there's other types of synthetic dye, but that's the one I used. And yeah, this was the Royal Purple. And I just used a ton of dye in a small vat, and I had to do it over the stove to keep consistent heat, like around 200 degrees. And it only took about 5 minutes to do, so it wasn't too bad. Yeah, but that turned out great. And then we have these yellow parts, obviously the elephant in the room. And no, these are not powder coated. These are Cerakoted. And it's something they're doing in the, you know, real steel firearms world a lot, because it can withstand heat. It's a little different process, obviously, than powder coating. And obviously it's pretty cool because we can do plastic parts also. So I had them do this part for the sling point, so that's pretty sweet. And I think as long as it can withstand, I think an oven of like 180 degrees, you should be able to Cerakote it. Element Armament here in Indiana did these for me. A big shout out to them. They did a great job. I mean, these things just turned out perfect. The guy that did them does some really awesome stuff. This was a pretty simple job for him because it's just, you know, a one coat color thing. But he does some really cool design stuff. And I looked through his book. It's pretty sweet. So maybe one day I'll get him to do a whole blaster for me or something like that. But really happy with how these turned out, and I cannot wait to get them in that project. I think it's really going to add a nice touch. All right, so I got the base on. It looks great. This color is amazing. Removed all the masking, obviously, and everything looked good. Had to touch up a couple things, but nothing major. You know, it came out pretty well. There's a little bit of trash in it, but that's just something you deal with painting outdoors. It's really hard to keep that stuff out of there unless you're in like a perfect painting situation, which I don't paint enough to have that or room to have that. So it just kind of is what it is. I mean, there may be some things you can do to kind of prevent that or remedy that, but I don't know if I have the confidence to try to do anything like that right now. But nevertheless, I'm very happy with it. And I guess we just need to figure out if I want to still put these stickers on. One's going to go on the battery door and one's going to go on the other side. And then we're going to clear coat over it. I think I want to do it. It's just a little, you just got to make sure you do it right because you only get one shot. Also, I went ahead and put motors in the flywheel cage. So that's pretty awesome. These are the Band Blaster 42s. And so that should be a pretty sick setup. Really excited to get this thing wired up and up and running. So hopefully we can get everything knocked out in the next episode. I'm waiting for a better day to clear coat because when I did the base, it was like 57 degrees. So it's a little bit on the cooler side. And I couldn't get video of it. I apologize because I was kind of just waiting for the perfect weather to strike that yesterday actually. And I didn't even think I was going to be able to do it yesterday, but the rain stopped, the humidity went down, and I was like, now's the time, let's get it done. So that's what happened. Nevertheless, I'm happy with how it turned out. Hopefully you guys think it looks good. It's a pretty close match to the crossbow color. It might be a little more maroon, but it kind of just depends on the light it's in. Obviously, I wanted something more metallic and, you know, than the kind of flatness of the stock crossbow. And it's kind of difficult to get a perfect exact match, but this is much closer than the other color was, that's for sure. Hopefully you guys enjoyed these trials and tribulations of painting a Nerf blaster because, man, it was a journey. I was pretty stressed out there for a little bit, but I'm glad they were able to get this paint to me quickly and I was able to get this done. So I think if all the wiring goes well, I should be able to get this complete. I'm still going to have to kind of do some figuring out on these LEDs, which could be challenging. But honestly, if I don't get the LEDs done, I'll still be able to submit, you know. It's not like a major part, I don't think, of the competition. It would be cool to have them in there, but, you know, I think the main part of the competition is the integration and the cleanliness and all that. And obviously, you can see this thing is pretty darn slick. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think. Appreciate the support. But, yeah. Getting into this hobby, there's a lot of rabbit holes and you can spend some money, and I sure have on this project, but I'm very happy with it so far, and hopefully the clear goes on smooth and we'll get this thing knocked out. So, peace out, guys.